Hi guys. I'm sure the title is saying it all. This is probably the video that I think so many of you have been waiting for. Probably primarily because you're so supportive and you've known that I've wanted to go home. And so I thought that I would just kick off this video and give you guys as much information as I can. And yeah, so I'm going home. It's so, like, I feel so many different things about this. I feel like I'm slightly overwhelmed and the words are like getting caught in my mouth, but they're not coming out, you know? So I'm gonna try to like not lag on this because that's probably annoying. So for starters, expect no makeup for a while. And that's probably not true. I'll probably put on makeup at some point, but I am in the moving process. And I would love to have more information to give you on the house and what we're doing. And even at this stage right now and the date that I'm looking at, like, I don't actually have the information I wish I could give you because I don't even have it myself. And so I think that that will be an even bigger, maybe even more interesting video than this once everything's finalized. But I really thought that I would be home a lot earlier. I'll say that. I really did. And so because it's dragged on and I thought that I was going to be home earlier in the year, it has taken quite a toll. But I guess I'll start off with saying that most of you have started watching me when I lived in Texas, and that's where I'm from. It's where I grew up as a child. It's where my daughter was born and where she grew up. Like, we're Texans, period, right? So, but I was a single mom. I was a young mom, and I kept Micah and I, you know, in a location to keep her going to the same schools and, you know, with her friends. And so I think when I look back and I'm like, now in this frame of mind to when I was making the decision to leave Texas and move to Florida, I think that I clearly wanted to do one thing for myself. That's what it was really all about. And I know that when I would visit Florida on our family vacations, it had always felt like a second home. And it always made me feel good. And at the time when, you know, I was losing Loxy and all of that was happening and I wasn't feeling good and home just felt so stagnant. In that frame of mind then in 2021, I felt so stuck. And I felt caged in my mind. And I think that's why at that time, I was like, I gotta move, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go try out this dream I've always had. I always wanted to live in Florida and feel that out. And a part of me back at the time before I moved, I'm like, but do I move? Do I go from one thing to another that it's like 0 to 100 kind of thing? Or is the solution me just spending more time in Florida than I normally do, right? I remember telling myself, don't make such a huge, like, rash decision, like, just go spend some more time in Florida. And I had actually booked like an Airbnb to go spend a month there. This was back before I thought I was going to move. And then almost immediately after I had booked that Airbnb, I was like, nope, I'm moving. I'm gonna go get this house. And sometimes I can be that way. I can be very impulsive and I'm very like, what I want is what I want. And I've always made decisions for myself that I've been solid with. I've never regretted a single like decision I've ever made. And well, I mean, you know, like on a bigger scale, like buying a house or buying a car, or like I've never had buyer's remorse, basically. Like I'm a very confident decision maker. And so I really trusted myself, you know, to do all this. And so then I go and cancel this Airbnb and I switched to buying, which was, now I'm like, okay, you are clearly going through some things. But then the same breath, like, and I said this in my moving video, I think from Texas to here, I was just like, this is a dream, I gotta try it. I even think I said, I was like, I know I'll probably end up back in Texas. And if it doesn't work out, like, that's okay. Like, even then I said, I know moving is going to be hard. I never expected it to be easy. I knew I was going to struggle. I said all of that. I said, I know that when I get to Florida, it's going to take time for me to feel like I'm basically made the right decision. And like, you know, I had over 30 something plus years in Texas. Like, I can't just move to Florida and be like, oh, this is great. You know, some people that happens for them, for sure. But Texas wasn't absolutely horrible. I was just in a place where I was just like, I just want to do one thing for myself. You have to understand that I had Micah at 18. And so I never got to be an adult without a child. And so and then it was like, then it was taking her to college, and it was still like, you think it ends at 18, but it doesn't. I don't know why I thought that, but it didn't end at 18. You know, I don't know, maybe for other people it does, but it did not end for me at that age. But the point is, like, once that was finished, I was just like, I gotta do this one thing for me. And I had to. And I know that. So in this past year, I've only been here a year. I mean, actually, it's been a year and a couple of days. I think I got here June 2nd, you know? So it's June 9th. But the point is, like, I completely lost my train of thought and like where I was going there. But basically, you know, when I moved here, I wish I could tell you guys that, like, this was a recent feeling, but it wasn't. As soon as I got to Florida, I think the first month I was like, this is the right decision, but it was actually very early on that I realized. And you know, it's like, oh, I think what I was getting at that I forgot is that in this past year, I've gone back and forth from a lot of feelings, like, and they have been hard. They have been some of the hardest feelings I've ever had to like sort, compartmentalize, feel. I've gone back between regretting and not regretting. And ultimately, I'm now on, I can't regret what has transpired, because it had been in my mind for so long. And I'm one of those people where I'm like, I gotta have what I set my mind to. And in that frame of mind, I had to have Florida. I had to do this. And so I did. And now I can really put that to rest. I still consider this place a second home. I just think it's some place that I just need to visit for longer, but not live here. And I've had so much homesick. It's been unreal. I thought, and I'm not trying to compare like experiences from like losing Loxy and that triggering my stomach problems and the panics and all that's all different videos that I've done. But I have to say that this past year has been so incredibly difficult for me mentally. Hasn't affected me physically in the sense. I've been really taking care of my body. I've been really trying to keep my stress levels down, like all that stuff. But it's something where like once I realized this wasn't working out for me, it wasn't gonna be for me, but I'm still living here, that was my biggest challenge. And then when I realized, okay, it's time to go, let's make the decisions to make this happen, I thought that I would get home a lot earlier. And so as time's been ticking by, and you know, it has unfortunately only increased the difficulty that I felt inside, the turmoil that I felt, the anger at myself, and I don't know, just, you know, even though I've landed on not regretting, my mind still takes me there to be like, regret it, you know, it's just kind of hard. And I know when I look back, once everything's said and done and all the dust settles, I know I'm gonna be like, I know why I had to do this. And you know, like, but that's like dreams, right? You gotta, or at least for me, I had to go after my dream. It doesn't mean that it was going to work out the way that I expected to, but I am very thankful that I did this, because I wouldn't have learned what home means to me. I wouldn't have learned that Texas is where I wanted to be, because I was in such a place of like, oh my God, it's the same thing. And I feel so much more grateful now for, it's not easy, you know, to admit that, because I imagine some people maybe are laughing or whatever. I guess it doesn't really matter, but and I can't call it a mistake, because I wouldn't have learned what home meant, and I was very caged in my head, you know, prior to this. I was very much like, I need to do one thing for me. And if I didn't do it, I would have stayed in Texas, and I would have felt a little bit miserable. So I get to now release all of that. And how can I regret that? I get to check off that I did it, that I tried, that I had enough guts to do something like this by myself. And I mean, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what I've done. You know, it's been hard being away from home. And as you've started to see, I was going back to Texas a lot. And then the more that I started going, the worse that I got. It was like, then at first it was like, oh, I'm going home, it feels great. And then when I would come back here, I would go back into this turmoil, because I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. But then when I would go back to Texas, then I started to feel bad, because I'm like, I gotta keep leaving here. It was just like, I was just torturing myself. And yeah. So anyways, there's a lot more that I want to share about what's kind of been going on with the whole entire process, and I'll probably end up sharing it. I mean, it doesn't have to be shared on the internet. I'll probably end up sharing it soon once I have everything kind of finalized, but at this point in time, I don't have anything finalized. I mean, if I'm being technical in this very second, I'm not sure where Micah and I are going, but we're going. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've reached my max of all of this, and so now I've made decisions to just pack it on up and get to Texas. So but that's what's going on. I'm finally going home. I think there's only a couple of halls left here in this house, and then hopefully I'll finally settle down and just chill out for like 5-6 years. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I did a lot of moving. You guys have seen me move a lot, but I talked about that too. All that moving in the very beginning was to keep Micah zoned for her high school. Where we lived, they were throwing up so many high schools, and we kept getting rezoned for the wrong high school. It was just like, we couldn't catch a break. Like literally, the first time that we had to move because of this, and and this is where I really started my YouTube a lot, was they split the alley. The alleyway was the split, and I was on the wrong side. So there was just all this moving to rezone and stuff like that. So when I bought my last house, that was for me. Like, I just kind of moved out of that city, bought this last house, which I love this house so much. Micah loves this house so much. We have so many good, positive things that have happened in this house. And yeah, so sometimes it hurts. Sometimes I feel this little feeling of regret for letting it go, and that's very hard for me. It's a hard pill to swallow. You know, when you've done things, you're kind of like, God, I wish I didn't do it. But then on the flip side, it's like, I needed to reset my mind. And my mind was not gonna let go. That's just how I am. I was not gonna let go of going to Florida. And well, I did it. I'm stubborn. I did it. Here's how it went down. I got here, and unfortunately, it was not for me. And that has nothing to do with Florida. It's all a personal experience. As a matter of fact, I actually see so many people moving to Florida and they love it. They're like, we'll never, like, this is where I need to be. And that's because that's their personal journey, right? Like, everyone has their things. Some people need to live in a beach town. Some people need to live in the country, or like New York City. You know, I'm good with a little suburb in Dallas. Like, that's where I thrive, apparently. And that's just what works for me. And I had to learn this lesson the hard way. The hardest way. If I really dove into how hard I cried, how often I cried this past year, I mean, in the last 6 months, I hate to admit it, but I'm going to. I probably have cried every day. Just a mixture of all those emotions, you know, like, it's just everything. But slowly but surely, everything's gonna just get, you know, I'm going back to Texas. I mean, packing it up, and gonna figure out the living situation in Texas, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated. But I wanted to tell you guys that this is, I guess, the official video. Florida didn't work out, and I'm going home, and I couldn't be happier. And I kind of feel like I took you guys on such a yo-yo with me, you know? I feel like you've seen me go through probably the most I've ever gone through in the last 2 years. I don't know, comment if you've been with me for a while. I'd love to see it from your perspective, because, you know, I only kind of see my life the last 3 years. Everything that's happened before, I've forgot about, essentially. But I guess from an outsider to me's perspective, I don't know, I kind of think the last 2 years you probably see me go through the most that I've ever gone through. And that's why I've actually written an autobiography. And y'all have sold it out. Like, this was just a pre-order, by the way. So once it's available, you can get it on Amazon. But I thought I was gonna sell like maybe 50. Maybe 50. I think there are 1,300 pre-orders. And everyone that pre-orders from Etsy gets something completely different from getting it from Amazon, by the way. Through Etsy, you're going to get a personalized note in your book, and you're gonna actually get your name in my book. So also, just wanna say, please be patient while I get all of this worked out. I'm self-publishing, so I do have a tentative target release date for Etsy. The pre-orders get to y'all before it's going to be available on Amazon. So I'm still, and that's the other thing, I wanted to end my book on a specific note. And so I'm finalizing getting all the names. So I have a couple of more orders left in Etsy. So if you want to pre-order, if you want, of my autobiography, and I'm going to be talking about everything. And I mean, what I've gone through, things you guys don't even know about at all. Including what I've gone through here. Because me just telling you that I've cried every day isn't even scratching the surface of what could go wrong went wrong. So, yeah, I've gone through some things, and I said this in the video where I talked about I have some big news for you. I'll link that video down below if you just kind of want to hear me talk about this book a little bit more, because I'm not going to talk about it too much here since I already did, but I'll link that video down below. I'll also link the direct link to order my book, my autobiography, in my Etsy shop. So, yeah, so what I'm going to release here in my Etsy shop, and once that's sold out, I think that's going to be a sellout because yeah, so, and then you'll have to just wait for the release on Amazon basically, but, oh, I forgot what I was saying, but basically this book is really going to talk about everything that I went through, and how I handled everything, how hard everything was. And yeah, I think what I was getting at was that I tend to be more of a private person, and I just have felt this like weird call to just do this book. So I'm rolling with it, and it's definitely gonna make me feel vulnerable because it's, you know, there's a lot of deep stuff. There's a lot of good stuff too. And so anyways, if you want a pre-order of my autobiography and all the special things, special maybe the wrong word, I don't want to like, that just sounds like ego, but the difference is you get something different from just ordering the book straight from Amazon. If you order from Etsy, the book actually will come directly from me, whereas if you order from Amazon, it'll come from Amazon. So but anyways, I digress. So if you want a copy, or if you want to pre-order that book, link down below. And basically that's that. The book is all about what I went through losing Loxy that you don't know about, what I went through with this house, and what I've been doing the last year that like no one knows about. So all the details are going to be in that. But I am at a point now where I'm finally going home, and I feel so relieved. There's still a lot more that needs to be done, but I'm like one step closer to just, you know, I don't even know. I want to say freedom from my mind. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned how I am very like strong-willed. I'm very stubborn. What I want, I go after it. And yeah, so, and the result of that kind of got me to here, and it made me feel like it was a huge mistake. And, you know, there's just a lot, but in the end, it's not a mistake. It was, I had to figure it out. And I did. And I figured out that I belong in Texas. So, for all my Texans, I'm coming home. To all my Floridians, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here for a little minute. And I will see you guys in the next haul. There's only gonna be like a couple left. And then the videos, the decorating, all that is gonna come back. What you know of my channel to be, it's coming back. What you've always watched of me, that's coming back. So Thank you for staying subscribed through all of this, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.